In this lecture, we will take a quick tour of local. We left off with creating a WordPress site. After creating a new site, we are provided a dashboard of options for our environment. I want to quickly review these options before moving further. The first step is to select our site. On the left side of the tool, there is a list of sites registered on our machine. Be sure to select the site we recently generated. On the right side, we'll be presented with various options. Initially, we are given an overview of our site. Firstly, we are given the domain. This domain is not officially registered. We can't provide this domain to other users. They won't be able to visit our site. Local has modified our machine's settings to intercept requests to this domain. If we send a request to this domain, it's going to deliver files from our WordPress site. In some cases, you may want to change the domain. That's possible by clicking on the Change button. For this course, I think the default domain works fine. Moving along, an SSL certificate has been generated for our site. Nowadays, Google will penalize sites that don't have a certificate. We want our development environments to reflect our production environments. It's handy to have a certificate installed for security. Certificates enable encryption for data sent between the server and browser. It keeps our users safe from hackers. In some cases, your browser may not allow you to visit your development environment. You may need to give extra permission by clicking on the Trusted button to force the browser to allow you to visit your site. If you are able to view your site, you do not need to perform this step. Next, we have the option of changing the web server. This is one of the most helpful features of local. You may not like Nginx. If that's the case, you can switch to Apache without creating a new server. On the other hand, you may be developing a commercial theme and plugin. Verifying your work on different web servers can be incredibly beneficial. The same goes for the PHP version. If you want compatibility with older versions of PHP, you can switch to an older version on the fly. Once again, it's unnecessary to create different environments for the same site. You can continue working with the same codebase. Unfortunately, the same can't be said about the database. Databases are more sensitive than the other two programs. We don't have the option of switching to another database. Luckily, it's not going to impact our code. Our code will be 100% compatible with MySQL and MariaDB. Afterward, we have the option of logging in as an admin. It can be annoying to constantly log into our site. If you want to skip this process, you can force your way in. This option may be disabled if your site is not running. Lastly, we are presented with the WordPress version and if multi-site is enabled. For this course, we're not going to learn about multi-site. That wraps up the Overview tab. There are two more tabs called Database and Tools. Let's shift our focus to the Database tab. This tab will present the credentials for your database. If you're not familiar with database connectivity, that's perfectly fine. Database management is a topic we'll cover in a future section. Besides installing programs for running WordPress, Local will install additional tools for debugging a WordPress site. One of the tools is called Adminer. You can click the open link to view this tool. After doing so, a new tab will be opened in your browser. We can interact with the database through this tool. Let's go back to Local. There's another tab called Tools. This tab contains a list of additional tools. We have the option of adding more tools with extensions. By default, Local will provide you with 2 additional tools. The first tool is called MailHog. MailHog is a program for creating an email server. Let's say you're creating a newsletter plugin. You may want to send emails from your development environment for testing purposes. MailHog will provide you with a fake email for receiving emails. This way, you don't need to pay for a third-party service for testing emails. It's a quick and easy way to test the email capabilities of your plugin. Lastly, we have a tool called Live. Local is capable of exposing your site to the public. This tool should be used cautiously. By going live, anyone in the world has access to your site, which is hosted on your personal machine. Therefore, they have direct access to your machine. The purpose of this feature is to allow your clients to preview your site without uploading it to a production environment. It's a powerful tool, but you should only provide links to people you trust. For this course, we aren't going to need this tool. There's one last feature to be aware of. Under the name, we'll be given the path to our project. If we click on this path, the File Explorer will open. This is probably the most crucial feature. We need to know where to find our files. There are a total of 3 folders. The first folder is called Configuration. As we discussed before, local handles configuring the programs for running WordPress. You may not like the default configuration. If that's the case, you can find the configuration files for each program in this directory. For our project, the default configuration works fine. The second folder is called Logs. During the development lifecycle of a theme or plugin, you're likely to run into errors. Local will store a copy of errors produced by our site inside this directory. It's beneficial for debugging your site. The last directory is called App. If we peek inside this folder, we'll come across a public directory. This folder will contain the official files for WordPress. We're going to be working inside this directory for the majority of this course. There are hundreds of files, but soon enough, you'll become comfortable working with WordPress. Let's continue our discussion in the next lecture.